Every morning when you wake up, before you've even had the chance to stretch your arms or check your phone, the first battle of the day has already begun. It's a battle that doesn't make headlines, a battle that nobody else will see or even care about, but it's the single most important fight you will ever face. The fight between the version of you that wants to grow and the version of you that wants to stay the same. The fight between the disciplined you and the lazy you. The fight between the strong you and the weak you. It's not you versus the world. It's not you versus your job, your boss, or your friends. It's you versus you. And the truth is, until you learn how to defeat the version of yourself that holds you back, you will never step into the life you're truly capable of living. This is the fight that determines whether you rise or fall, whether you progress or stay stuck, whether you live with regret or with pride. Think about all the promises you've ever made to yourself. Think about the times you said, "Tomorrow, I'll wake up early," or "I'll start eating better," or "I'll finally work on that project I've been putting off." And then, tomorrow came and nothing happened. You hit snooze. You skipped the workout. You procrastinated. You let yourself slide. And in that moment, it wasn't the world that stopped you. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't someone else's fault. It was you. The weaker version of you won the battle that day. And this is where most people stay stuck, losing the small battles day after day until years pass and they look back at a life they don't even recognize. They tell themselves stories like, "Life is unfair. I didn't get the right opportunities. Things never worked out for me." But deep down, they know the truth. It was never life versus them. It was always them versus themselves. Let me tell you a story about an ordinary man. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel was like many of us. He worked a regular job, spent hours commuting, and always told himself he wanted to get healthier. He bought new running shoes, joined a gym, even downloaded apps that promised to keep him on track. But every evening, when he came home exhausted, he chose the couch instead of the treadmill. He chose fast food instead of cooking. He chose scrolling on his phone instead of moving his body. And little by little, those choices caught up with him. One evening, climbing the stairs to his apartment, Daniel had to stop halfway. His chest was pounding, his breath was short, and for the first time, he realized how far he had slipped. He sat on those stairs, sweating, embarrassed, and he told himself the same lie many of us tell ourselves, "I'll change tomorrow." But that night, something shifted. Instead of promising tomorrow, he decided to fight back today. He dropped to the floor and did 10 push-ups before bed. Just 10. The next night, he forced himself to do 15. Weeks later, 20. It wasn't glamorous. No one applauded. No one noticed. But over time, the man who couldn't climb a flight of stairs without stopping was running miles, stronger than ever. What changed? Not the world, not his job, not his schedule. What changed was Daniel finally won the battle against himself. And then there was Sarah, a young woman who always dreamed of financial freedom, but found herself buried in credit card debt. Every time she felt stressed or unhappy, she shopped. New clothes, new gadgets, expensive nights out. She justified it by saying, "I deserve this. It makes me feel better." But those little purchases piled up until the bills became overwhelming. One afternoon, sitting in her car with a new bag on the passenger seat, she opened a bill and realized she was thousands of dollars in debt she couldn't keep up with. She cried. She blamed the economy. She blamed her low-paying job. She blamed the cost of living. But when the tears dried, she admitted the truth. It wasn't the world that trapped her in this hole. It was her choices. It was her versus her. That night, she opened a notebook and built a budget. She sold things she didn't need. She cooked meals instead of eating out. Every day, she fought the urge to swipe her card for comfort. It was brutal. Some days she wanted to quit, but she kept fighting. Months later, when she made her final debt payment, she broke down again. Not in despair, but in freedom. The world hadn't changed. Her salary hadn't doubled. What changed was her. She finally defeated the version of herself that kept choosing short-term pleasure over long-term peace. And maybe your fight looks different. Maybe you're a student who keeps saying you'll study, but every time you open your books, you find yourself on TikTok or Netflix. You tell yourself you'll catch up later, until the night before the exam when panic sets in. You blame the teacher, you blame the system, but in your heart, you know it wasn't them. It was you. Or maybe you're someone who always wanted to start a business. You've had ideas, plans, even dreams of freedom. But every time you sat down to take action, fear crept in. The voice inside said, "You're not ready. You'll fail. You'll embarrass yourself." And so you listened to the weaker version of you. You stayed safe. You stayed small. You stayed stuck. That's the war. That's the invisible battlefield no one else can see. Here's what makes this fight so difficult. Nobody else will cheer for your small victories. Nobody claps when you wake up early. Nobody congratulates you when you resist junk food. Nobody celebrates when you put your phone away and actually focus on your goals. These little wins are invisible. And because they're invisible, most people dismiss them as unimportant. But those invisible wins are everything. They stack up, brick by brick, until one day, you've built a new version of yourself that nobody can ignore. Think about the man who finally writes a book. The outside world only sees the finished product. They clap for the result, but they didn't see the silent war. The nights he fought against procrastination, the mornings he forced himself to write one page, the countless days he sat down when he didn't feel like it. That's the truth. The real victory isn't the finished book. The real victory was every day he beat the old version of himself. And here's the part that's even harder to accept. You will lose battles along the way. You will hit snooze some mornings. You will skip workouts. You will procrastinate. You will make mistakes. And when that happens, the weaker you will whisper, "See, I told you, you can't change. You'll always be the same." But here's the difference between the people who stay stuck and the people who transform. The ones who grow don't listen to that voice. They acknowledge the slip, they stand back up, and they keep going. Imagine someone trying to quit smoking. They go 30 days strong. Then one night, under stress, they cave and light a cigarette. The old self says, "See, you failed. Just give up." But the new self says, "I slipped, but I'm not done." And so they keep fighting. Months later, they're free. That's what winning looks like. Not perfection, but persistence. This battle is not glamorous. It's not flashy. It won't trend on social media. It's lonely. It's quiet. It's fought in the early mornings when no one else is awake, in the late nights when no one's watching, in the small choices that seem insignificant but make all the difference. It's fought in the decision to run in the rain, to study when you're tired, to save when you want to spend, to show up when you don't feel like it. No one will see it, but one day everyone will see the results. One day the body transforms, the grades rise, the bank account grows, the business thrives, and people say, "Wow, you've changed." But you'll know the truth. You didn't change. You simply defeated the old version of yourself, one decision at a time. So let me ask you this. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, who will win? The version of you that wants comfort or the version of you that wants growth? Because every choice you make is a vote. Every disciplined act, every sacrifice, every time you push when you don't feel like it, it's a vote for the stronger you. And every time you give in, every time you delay, every time you choose comfort, it's a vote for the weaker you. And the version that wins is simply the one you cast the most votes for. The question is, which version are you building? The old you will always be there, whispering, tempting, pulling you back into old habits. It will say things like, "You're too tired. Start tomorrow. One cheat day won't hurt. This is just who you are." But you have to recognize that voice for what it is. The enemy. That's not who you are. That's who you were. And every day you fight, every day you push, every day you choose growth, you bury that old version deeper and deeper. Until one day you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person you used to be. Every single one of us has two voices inside our head. One voice says, "Rest a little longer. You deserve it. You can always start tomorrow." And the other voice says, "Get up, push through, do what needs to be done." The voice you listen to determines your life. It's not fate, it's not luck, it's not even talent. Simply, which voice do you obey? Every day, you're training one of them to grow stronger. The more you listen to the voice of comfort, the louder it gets. The more you listen to the voice of discipline, the stronger it becomes. That's the battle of you versus you. Not once in a while, not on special occasions, but every single day of your life. Take someone like James, an ordinary office worker. He hated his job, hated waking up early, hated feeling stuck. Every Monday morning was torture. He'd say, "This is just how life is. I'm unlucky. I wasn't born into money. I don't have options." But deep down, James knew he was lying to himself. The truth was, he spent his evenings binge-watching shows instead of learning new skills. He spent his weekends drinking instead of working on his side hustle. He avoided the discomfort of growth because it was easier to complain. One night, after another long rant about how much he hated his job, his friend looked at him and said, "Maybe it's not the job. Maybe it's you." Those words hit him hard. For the first time, he saw the truth. His enemy wasn't the company, or his boss, or society. It was himself. That night, instead of scrolling, he opened his laptop and started learning a new skill. A year later, he walked into a new career he built from scratch. The job didn't change. The world didn't change. He changed. Then there's Maria, a mother of two. She used to dream of writing children's books, stories that could inspire kids the way books inspired her as a child. But every time she tried to sit down and write, excuses filled her mind. "I don't have time. The kids need me. I'm too tired. Maybe when they're older." Years passed, and that dream gathered dust. But one day, while tucking her daughter into bed, her little girl asked, "Mom, why don't you do the things you love?" That question pierced her heart. She realized she had been teaching her kids to follow their dreams, while she wasn't following hers. That night, she opened her notebook and wrote one page. Just one. The next night, another. It wasn't easy. Sometimes she was exhausted. Sometimes she doubted herself. But she kept going. Months later, she held the first draft of her book in her hands. Nobody gave her the time. Nobody handed her the opportunity. She had to fight herself for it. The battle wasn't her children versus her dreams. It was Maria versus Maria. And what about you? How many times have you said you'd start something someday? How many times have you told yourself, "When I feel ready, when I have more time, when the conditions are perfect"? But let's be honest, there is no perfect time. There never will be. The world will always be chaotic. The days will always be busy. And you will never feel 100% ready. Waiting for the perfect moment is just the weaker version of you tricking you into staying the same. The stronger version of you knows that you start before you're ready. You start when it's inconvenient. You start when you're scared. You start when it hurts. Because that's when growth happens. Look at anyone who's transformed their life. The person who lost 100 pounds, the one who broke free from addiction, the one who built something from nothing. To the outside world, their journey looks impossible, like they climbed a mountain overnight. But behind the scenes, it was a series of small, brutal, invisible battles. It was waking up early when they wanted to sleep. It was saying no to temptation when no one was watching. It was choosing action over excuses again and again. That's why most people never reach their potential. Because they think the fight is external, against the economy, against other people, against the system, when really it was always you versus you. And here's the harsh truth. The world doesn't care if you win or lose this fight. Life goes on whether you step up or stay the same. Your bills won't pause because you're tired. Your health won't improve because you meant to exercise. Your dreams won't come true just because you want them badly. The only thing that changes your life is action. And action only happens when the stronger version of you takes control. That means no more waiting, no more excuses, no more lying to yourself. If you want change, it's on you. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to drag you across the finish line. It's you who has to show up. And yes, it will be lonely. There will be nights where you're the only one awake, working on your dream. There will be mornings where you're the only one running, while everyone else is sleeping in. There will be weekends where you're grinding while your friends are out having fun. That's the price of becoming the strongest version of yourself. But here's the reward: when you finally get there, when you see the results, when you feel the strength, when you look back and realize who you've become, the sacrifice will be worth it. The loneliness will be worth it. Every single battle will be worth it. Because at the end of the day, it's not you versus the world. It's not you versus your boss, your parents, or your friends. It's not even you versus your circumstances. It's always been and will always be you versus you. And the only question left is this: when the battle is over, who will win?